You know that I'm passionate about history. I love church history. It enables us to see where we've been, what mistakes we've made, what we've done to correct those mistakes. But most of all, I love biblical history, because when you put the writings back into their historical context, they really come alive and they begin making more sense. You know, the history of Israel, it's a unique history. I'm glad we don't do it anymore, because, you know, they would walk with God for a little while, then all of a sudden they'd see something over here and they would kind of veer off. God would bring them back. And they would walk along for a little while and they'd see something over here and they'd veer off the path. But it's interesting, there's always consequences attached. Always consequences attached. We see the consequence of the northern kingdom in 722 BC when Assyria came and carried them off. Well, the southern kingdom, they paid attention for a little while, but not too long. And in 586, Babylon came down, and they made, actually, it was several years of siege, and then carrying off 3 different groups up to Babylon. The first group, it makes sense, this was a military movement. They carried off the young fighting men, the young, strong men. And some of these names you'll recognize. That's where Daniel, deportation, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, part of that first deportation, these young, strong men. So they get them up to Babylon where they cannot be Jerusalem. But the incredible thing about God is He gives us these glimpses of victory in the midst of defeat. Victory in the midst of defeat. Think for a moment with me about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Here are these 3 young, strong men, and they're standing in front of a furnace. And it's literally where they are to be executed. Now, they could have changed this. They were given the opportunity to change this, but they chose not to. If we go back in their story, we're going to remember had a 90-foot tall statue built. And wherever you were in the land, whatever you were doing, whenever you heard music playing, you stopped immediately, you fell toward this 90-foot tall gold statue. Well, out of the entire country, there were 3 young men that said, no, we will not do that. That's what's got them in this problem, standing before this furnace where they are to be executed. If we go back to Daniel chapter 3, we pick up part of this. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, verse 16, replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar. Now remember, these are just 3 ordinary boys, young men. King Nebuchadnezzar is the man in the world. At this point in history, he is the most powerful man in the world. And they look the most powerful man in the world right in the eye. And they say, "Defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. And He will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if He does not, we want you to know." It sounded like there's a little confidence there. You better believe it. We want you to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. I'm pretty proud of these guys. Here they are in the midst of defeat. Okay? Here is Israel, God's people, God's country, suffering the wrath and the judgment of God. They have been defeated by Babylon. The young men are up in Babylon. And now here they are for what they believe in. Now, as we follow the story, you know the story. they heated the furnace up 7 times hotter than it normally would go, such that when the guards opened the door to throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the furnace, they died from the heat. And as King Nebuchadnezzar and his men looked down into the furnace, walking around the furnace is not 3, but 4 people, 4 men. I think Nebuchadnezzar was kind of scratching his head. I bet he was having some doubts. Here comes Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out of this fire. And I mean, not even. This is incredible. And we say, wow. But the most amazing thing to me about this story is not the fact that God saved. He can do that. The fact that the 4th man was in there. Jesus can show up anytime He wants to show up. But the most amazing thing to me about this story is their faith. Their faith. Because it was life and death. And their faith shone through. You know, that's what Paul is talking about at this point in the armor of God. Let's turn to Ephesians chapter 6. Now, in Ephesians chapter 6, this armor of God, he makes it clear that every single Christian is in the battle, in a spiritual battle. You can sit down, you can turn your head, you can cover your eyes, still in the battle. And he wants these people in Ephesus to know this. And he does not want them going into battle unprepared. He does not, I kind of like this. I think he's all copied my phrase. You reckon? I do not accept defeat. In this battle that we fight today, that's my mantra. I do not accept defeat, because greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Paul did not want these Ephesians to be knocked down. He's told them about the belt that they need to fasten around them, that truth. He's told them about that breastplate of righteousness that they need to put on. He has told them about those shoes, the readiness of the gospel of peace that they need to have on. Now, these 3 things so far are things that you put on your body and they stay attached, and shoes. Now we're going to move to 3 different items that are not quite like that, and the first of those is the shield of faith. So look with me in Ephesians chapter 6. In addition to all of this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. May God bless the reading of His Word. Okay, this shield, this is something that you have to pick it up. You have to put your arm through it to be able to use it. To be able to use it. Now, what Paul is picturing is a Roman shield. So many times we think of a small shield. The Roman shield was not a small shield. It was a large rectangle. It stood basically 3.5 foot tall. When a Roman soldier put it down in front of him, it could protect his whole body. It had curved edges such that shots of arrows that were coming at simply deflected off. It had a round piece with a sharp knob in the middle of it that he could fight forward with. This was something big, and it was something that was very important for the Roman soldier. Just like our faith is something that is big and very important for every single Christian. Now, sometimes our faith, our shield, when you first start out with your faith, your shield's kind of small. My shield started out about like a button on a shirt. It was pretty small. But the more that I've studied, the more I learn about Him, and the further I walk in this faith journey, my faith has grown. That's the natural way that it does. Now, we think, well, what is faith? Well, without talking about Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11 literally gives us a definition of faith. In verse 1, he says, faith is confidence in what we hope for, assurance about what we do not see. I do love the substance idea King James uses. I kind of favor that, because faith is very different than emotion. You know, we come in here, we sing songs, we feel good. That's emotion. And that's good. That's necessary. That's part of building up. That's part of encouraging. That's part of giving us what we need for us to make this faith journey. But the faith itself is not an emotion. It is something that is real, and it is something that you place your life in. Your faith in God. This faith it's so important. It says in Ephesians 2:8 about this faith. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 8, he says, "For it is by grace," oh, I love that word. "It is by grace you have been saved through faith. And that's this not from yourselves. It is the gift of God." Okay, this salvation, it's a gift. This faith, it's a gift. This shield, it's a gift from God. Now, a shield, if a Roman soldier took and laid his shield over to the side, how much good is it going to do him? Not one bit. When we go about our lives and we don't carry our shield of faith with us, the Roman soldier, when he could just carry his shield at his side, kind of, swing it like this, well, that leaves him completely open. When we don't take our faith seriously, what it's supposed to do for us, which is to extinguish, in other words, to get rid of, completely protect everything and anything that Satan throws at us, we're not using what God gave us. We don't have the protection. But folks, I want you to understand, one of the most beautiful pictures is not just the faith for the individual, but the faith for the church. Let me see. I need a little bit of help. Would y'all three come here for a second? I need y'all. If you would come and stand, let me tell you, stand right here facing this way. Yep. Yep. Okay. The Roman army was incredible. In fact, it literally was the greatest army that the world had ever seen. Okay, Chad, come here. Let me help you up. Yeah. Come. Would you get over there and stand by, Chad? Come here. Now I need another row of three. Okay, come here. Yep. All right, Chad, right there. Yep. This Roman army was the most incredible army that the world had ever seen. Probably one of the best trained armies that the world has ever known. Yeah, you knew. Come on, Elizabeth. Yeah, come on. Yeah. This Roman army, they had developed a tactic that seen before. This Roman army would assume this formation. And of all things, the best translation from Greek to English is turtle. Turtle. It's a turtle formation. Now remember, what we're talking about, the shield of faith, these 3.5 foot tall, rectangular, curved shields that every Roman soldier would carry. Now, the ones on this side would turn out. The ones on the back would turn all the way around. Yep, they're turned out. And now the ones in the middle would simply hold their shields up. And massive moving formation that was shielded on every side. It was literally like a modern tank running other armies on foot. It was unbelievable what they could accomplish. But guess what? If these guys have put their shields down at the side, what have they done? They've left themselves open for attack. So they have to keep their shields up. And these have to keep them all the way up top. You've got your shield up because you are protecting. You cannot be the weak link in a Roman army formation called a turtle. It's what a beautiful picture of the church of God. What a beautiful picture of the church of God. Because you know what? My faith is necessary for everything that I go through. But you know what? I need your faith as well. I need your faith as well. Your checks us. I don't need you carrying it down, leaving us open. I don't want you leaving it behind so that we are vulnerable to the attacks of Satan. I need every person. God's army needs every person carrying their shield of faith, moving the way that God is leading us to move. And you know what, folks? There is no force on heaven or hell that can stop God's army. You are part. Your faith is important. Your faith is absolute and necessary, but not just for you, for every single person. Pick up your shield, family. Pick up your shield. Fall in formation as we move forward under God's direction. Pray with me. Father, thank you for the picture that you gave through Paul to let us see with our eyes what we need to do with our faith. What a great gift. What an incredible, beautiful gift it is. Our faith that you are perfecting in Jesus Christ. Father, I speak a blessing over each one here, each member of the family. And God be glorified through this, your church, in Jesus' name. Amen. Cowboy Church family, God bless you.